All right, and we are back for another episode of A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything, the show where I, your host, Kole Berzenji, get to sit down with interesting people from a myriad of fields. We get to pick apart their fields, what they do, what makes them tick. And in today's episode, we're going to look at some of the fears and the changes that they're encountering. So today with me, who am I saying with? Who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Hey, I'm Alex Hutchi. I'm a creative consultant, and I help business owners, founders, and pardon me. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to the intro. Let's just run it.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Okay, so you're a media production specialist. So we've covered this in previous episodes, but real briefly for the newcomers, what does that entail?
So essentially, I help people get online. So if they are offering a service, helping them tell the stories that help people to understand what problems they're solving. If they are an online business or a brick and mortar, like have a location, it's really about helping people to know either where they are, what they do, and being able to help them produce that content with what they have. So whether it's shot on an iPhone or they're hiring a production team or we're working with their team internally to develop their social media, it's really about helping them understand like what are people interested in now as far as their industry and their service. So I provide that research for them, and then also the production. So understanding like, how long should we be spending making content? What should the investment be time-wise, money-wise, to do this, and help them kind of align their goals with like, what do they want to get known for? So is it the consistency as a voice in their industry? Is it sales? Is it understanding their ad spend? So really it's all about helping people with their visual storytelling of their brands and businesses.
So let's start with misconceptions. When people come to you, what are some of the common misconceptions that they have about your consulting services?
The biggest misconception is that content doesn't work or it won't work for them. And part of it is I see that I should say I can observe a little bit online. And once again, when you're looking at other people's social media or other businesses, you never know what they have that is working. So maybe they have amazing content, yet they may not be getting as many sales as you may think. Or they're getting tons of sales with a very low engagement content, or who knows? Like, as you say, you don't know what other buckets they're filling to run their business to have time to make content. All that I can see is that that business owner is making content, and the person who owns the business is going to be the best person to market it because it's their business. So a lot of times it's helping people understand that if you want to play the social media game, you have to figure out what you're going to play it by. So whether it's you're doing content that is focusing just on the product only, so you'll have like, faceless content where it isn't showcasing like a person, it's more about the thing, or you're focusing on someone on the team or yourself needs to get good at speaking on camera. And those are both very fun scenarios to create content in. But the biggest thing is just helping, as a consultant, it's coaching people through that mindset shift of content can work, yet we need to figure out what's the formula to really get it to work for them.
So one of the things that I'm sure you've been asked before is, who are the kinds of people that you work with? Who are the clients or the businesses that need someone like you to come into their lives and to help them organize their social media? Are they just private professionals that are doing independent work, or are they also like small businesses of teams of like 10 to 20 people?
That's a great question. So I will work with teams. I think a lot of times freelancers are very important when it comes to working with small teams. And these are teams that are probably under 30 people because they're still big enough where they have quite a big team, but they also need like throughout the quarter or throughout the year, they're going to need certain like specialties, or they're going to need like someone who knows like more about like the creator economy or more about like content creation or ads behind that. And so being a specialist is very much a very useful thing. Yet growing my network to have those types of teams and clients in rotation, it takes time to build trust. It takes time to understand when they're going to need me to answer like a very specific problem. And it's like anytime I feel like when I work with like a big team, it feels like I'm coming in on like the season 7 of like this team's like marketing budget. Like I have no clue what they've been doing beforehand. So I quickly need to like get up to speed with like who's in charge of what, who actually enjoys different parts and where things are not working. So I definitely feel like the experience of working with teams is a lot different than working with like the solopreneurs or the content creators that are now taking their business more seriously, and they're starting to need like coaching and like other admin things. And then there's a lot of people that I work with and really enjoy are the like service providers. So people who are kind of location based, but they like to travel or they want to be able to travel. So a lot of time their goal with their content is very much focused on like, how do I generate leads and understand where it is that I want to be going? So they're oftentimes the solopreneurs, or they have a small team, like probably less than like 5 people. And they're really much focused on like, they hire contractors. Like they are always trying to find like the best expert to be in the room with. And those are really enjoyable because they're very open to learning. They have, very reasonable budgets where like they're trying to learn something in as well as execute at the same time. So I feel like those experiences, I get to be a little more hands-on. I get to like work with them over different periods of their business, because I typically will meet like solopreneurs like a year before. And so it's like always keeping in touch, always kind of like inviting them out or kind of knowing like where they're at in their business when they're finally like, all right, I'm ready to work together. And that's like such a great feeling, but it's like, it takes time to build a trust network as a freelancer. And that is something that is very important when not just offering a service or just like deciding like, okay, I'm going to sell like creative consultancy. It was really understanding like, this sphere of like founders and business owners that I was around, and realizing that a lot of them were having a really hard time with understanding, is social media critical for my business, or like, how do I do it, or where do I start, or there's so much stuff online on like, I just want to make a video, like how do I even do this, and really like solving those very specific problems. So that's, I really enjoy that. Yeah.
No, that's good. So let's say there's a business that wants to bring on, or more realistically perhaps realizes they need to bring on a media production specialist, a consultant to come in for a bit. How would you gauge how much you're going to have to charge them? Like what kind of workloads are important for you to know about, and what are the brackets you're probably going to land within?
Great question. My advice for anyone that's hiring or looking to hire, get to know the service provider or the freelancer or the contractor or even the potential new hires way before you need them. So don't wait until there's an actual fire to put out, because those are oftentimes going to cost a lot and be very high at expectation, which, there's nothing wrong with like a good challenge, a good like, let's do this together. But I think there needs to be like a reasonable amount of like runway in that I actually get to do my job too. And then we all get to work together. So oftentimes I feel like there are experiences that when working with teams, it's really important to kind of start with like the like, how much do you want to like spend on this? I think like for them to kind of help set a price they had in mind, because oftentimes I don't know what other people charge unless I ask, or that I'm inquiring upon something. It's like, how much do you know about like getting, your struts repaired on a car? Like, yeah, I don't know that information just like daily. It's like when they're not working, of course I got to go figure out how much they're going to cost. So I think the biggest thing is like really starting with like kind of I wouldn't say like start with a budget in mind, but understand that this is an investment and you're going to get what you pay for. Or if you go for the cheapest amount, you're more than likely gonna have to pay that again and more, because somebody else has to come by and like clean that up. So I think that there's a lot of things when it comes to like marketing. If I see a business that's been trying, like actually trying, like they've been posting, they maybe have like, someone else like who was on there for a second, then someone else took over, or I go on their ad account and I see like, okay, they kind of paid someone overseas and they paid someone here, and then like if I genuinely see them like they put some effort to try this, that to me is kind of like a good sign on like, okay, they are invested with understanding, like they're trying to get social media to work. They really are just trying to find the right fit, the team fit. And I think that's really essential. It's good to have like technical skills, but also like for other freelancers, like if you really like a certain like business or a type of like service or food, go do those things. Like I love hospitality and like food and culinary. So I mean, being able to work with a chef is like a dream come true, because I'm like, I love hosting people. I love being able to cook. I love like this whole understanding of like, you know, the business of being a private chef. Now it's like I get to take all my marketing creator skills and apply them to someone who's been in business for years. And that's like a really like beautiful intersection of like technical skills and personality fit. And so I do think that a lot of times with successfully hiring the right person, it's not just like, you know, can they do the job, but also like, is this somebody you want to learn from? Like, I think that's something really essential when it comes to hiring the right fit. It needs to be somebody who you feel like is going to teach you. And I feel like that is my job as a contractor. It's not just like, oh, can I sit with this contract and like milk it? Like, no, I really want to make sure that I come in with the mentality of that. Can I teach them, or can I train someone on their team so that they are sustainable? Or if it does turn into a more long-term relationship, I think that's great too. I think that that is a good fit, and that I'm also teaching them, but also given the responsibility of executing on the thing that I am being hired as an expert to do.
One of the things I know all freelancers run into problems with at some point or another is their pricing. One of the unique challenges that I know, and I'm sure you've faced this as well, but that we've faced whenever it comes to certain forms of digital content production, is the question gets asked, okay, well, how many leads is this going to generate us? And for some of them, you can give a number. You could say, hey, you know what? On this platform, for this kind of content, we can expect a lead for every X number of dollars. For awareness kind of content, that's a little bit more perhaps story-based, a little bit more authentic, a little bit more common. You can't always give a strict number for how much money they're going to obviously make back from that. Sometimes you're looking at a 6-month strategy or a 12-month strategy, and that's all fine. So have you ever encountered people resistant to your prices, and how do you explain to them the value that they're getting and the tactics you use to do that?
That's a really good scenario, and I've been in that situation a lot. And you still, as freelancers, contractors, anyone, you always have to like validate your skills at every point, advocate for your ability to do things. And I think one person that I really learned a lot from was Chris Do. He's got a great YouTube channel, The Future. Yeah, it is by far one of the best resources that I tell every freelancer to go binge watch his stuff on pricing and like price anchoring, price objection. He really breaks it down in a way that's very practical, and like you have to apply. And like for me, getting a no is actually like good feedback, especially when it comes to like pricing or what I'm offering, because that means to tell me that if the market's not buying this, I need to adapt quickly to make a sale, to build trust, to understand what to skill up on, to be the person who gets picked. And there's so many different reasons that a no can be the answer for the time at the time. And a lot of it is like the relationship you've built, the skill, what's the most important thing, the priority for this business. But when it comes to like understanding the investment, I think a lot of times people forget that when hiring creative consulting or hiring for digital services, especially when it comes to like content creation and now more recently like user generated content, it's really the usage that you're purchasing. It's not just the, oh, can you sit down and make a video for me, or can you script this? It's the usage. It's the fact that what takes me probably, I would say 20 minutes, maybe an hour to do, because this is what I do professionally. It's that 10 years of like schooling, coaching, my own investment of like my own skills, like, you know, everything that I'm able to do that in that short amount of time. And addition to that, it's also like the usage. It's like, okay, so I give you these package of reels or this package of content. You get to put this on your platform and make money off of this for the rest of the existing of your business. That deserves like a equal compensation or some sort of contract. And that's where I think a lot of, and this is like one thing I really learned from working with an attorney, is that understanding like usage rights, distribution clauses, a lot of factors that a lot of freelancers leave money on the table simply because they're not understanding like not only the value, but also like the actual like usage of it all. And I think that's something that, you know, you learn through either watching YouTube and learning from Chris Do, or you learn through like experience. But it's like, I really didn't understand. I should say, your work's good when people try to steal it. And I think that experiencing that and having that severely impact my business when I was first getting started, or just from time to time that I have to deal with those things, it's really disheartening, but it also makes me want to understand how can I become more resilient as a creator with the skill set right now. And it's understanding my contracts. It's understanding clear methods and deliverables to people so that there isn't any like scope creep, or there isn't any like, oh, I thought this was also going to be included. Like, just get really clear in the contract. And if it needs to take like a week, a month, like to like go through this contract with somebody, like spend the time to do it, especially if they are also sitting and like being patient with you on that too. Because sometimes if it's a rush, that could have some things that maybe later you're going to have to really eat the cost or eat the time to do it. But I think the biggest thing is like, there are really great people out there to work with. There are people who have the budget, and it's not just, oh, I'm charging what I think I deserve. No, you really have to study the market and understand like what's somebody at that stage of business willing to invest in. If they're not your customers, that's great. There is a customer, there is a contractor for everyone. And I think, a lot of that is just informing not only like myself on like, like, yeah, you got to inform yourself on like, what people are buying. But a lot of times it's like, meet business owners and actually get to know them, like actually care. Like, don't just like look at it as like, oh, I can sell to this industry because like, it's the hottest thing right now. Like, yeah, it's the hottest thing, but it's like, do you really know what the business owners, like why they're doing this, or like how they got into this, or like anything about them to like, just go sell to them? Like, a lot of times it's like getting to know people is how a lot of my businesses or contracts have just emerged, because it's like, I genuinely cared. And the more that they got to know me and saw like, hey, you could actually solve this problem, or, oh, I know somebody I can introduce you to, that's going to be a lot more validating, as well as having a successful client experience too.
I love that you brought up scope creep. I remember when I was first starting this out, I almost threw myself at what I saw might have been the opportunities to offer more work, never offering to get paid more. It was just, hey, I can offer the best service I possibly can if you let me do this in addition for you. And I was surprised more often than not that elicited confusion. And then eventually I grew out of that a little bit. And then it became more situations where they would come to me and said, hey, can you also just re-edit the video so that it's in a completely different visual format? And my thing is, sure, how much work can that be? Not realizing the detriment of that scope creep and how much time it costs you. And it's one thing to lose time. It's another thing to lose the opportunities that you could have used that time for.
Yeah, we learn that a lot as freelancers, creators. And it's like, you just want all those sacrifices to add up to something.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is, I think when I started to really understand more about being a consultant and like essentially getting paid to think, that's when I kind of understood it's like, okay, the prices or the value or what I do, it's not so much like, can I say a high number and then work my butt off? It's like, does the client feel proud to spend this? Do I have the reputation to back this? Do I have the proof of work to execute on this? That's way more important than the price that I'm going to share. No. And I think part of that is understanding like, you can get paid to show up and think. And like, there are plenty of consultants and plenty of other like design thinking or strategists who essentially that's what they do. But it's like, I think it really just depends on what kind of experience you want to have as a creator, as a freelancer, as a creative. I personally really enjoy working with people one-to-one. Like, I have, the private chef, we meet every week. I like being able to sit down in person and talk. Does that have maybe a different price point that I would charge another client for? Possibly. But for what I want to solve and the type of case study that I want to write, that problem that this business owner was having fit something that I would say yes to. And a lot of it is just coming up with like a happy median of like, okay, let's start with this price. there's tons of other ways to make money if that's like the goal with like being a creator or being a creative consultant. But I think the biggest thing is like understanding, like thinking of what you're doing right now, but projecting future out. Like what in 2 years, 3 years is going to be like essential that people are going to find me in demand. And so your previous clients should all be breadcrumbs leading up to like that big thing. And it's not just going to happen because like, oh, next month I'm going to go charge double and like work this. Like, no, I'm going to be spending I'm going to be spending a lot of months working with this first client, like one-to-one, until I solve the problem. And then once I solve the problem, that's when you get to package it up, sell the course, sell the book, make the podcast. Like until you actually do it, getting to all the other things that other people are at in different stages, it's a level to get there. But it's like you have to first start with like getting really good with the one problem you solve. And I think that's the one thing I wish that I focused on when I first got started, instead of just trying to be like a jack of all trades and like all these different skills, all these tool belts. It was really just too much because like it was spreading myself too thin. It wasn't getting paid as much. But I think the biggest thing that really shifted was that I focused on what problem do I want to be known that I can solve, and get really good at that one problem. And if I don't know, then my job should be to find a clarity on exactly what that problem is. And then from there, once I do it once, go do it 7 more times. Because I think once you do it 7 times, you at that point, you know what you're doing. And then from there, then you look into the passive ways. So then you get into the social media, you get into the books, the courses, the PDFs, the downloads, the whole funnel, you know? And I think so many times business owners or creatives, they get so discouraged because they don't have all those things, when I remind them that just being where you are right now and sharing what you're learning, sharing what your mistakes, like really being real about that can still get you a client. That can still get you to where you need to go financially. That can get you where you want to go skill wise. But I think the biggest thing is that there's a consultant, there's a price point, there's something for everyone at every level. Whether you decide to say yes to that could be somebody else's yes. And so I think that's something that really, if like your thing is like, hey, I want to go out there, I want to shoot like, you know, big productions, big budgets, that's great. Then you might have more downtime in between those things. But it's like, as long as your accounting adds up to where it makes your business work, that's fine. Yeah. And even when I got started, I think I did like creative work on the side. Like I would do it on the weekends or after work, you know, and I did that for many years until finally I had the financial cushion to be like, all right, I could, you know, spend some time like building this for a couple months or a gap in between, like finding my next job, and like taking all that skills in between those gaps. That actually is what got me in like the cooler jobs, like the cooler roles where I was actually like working more with like the talent or working more with the ad spin or like working more with like content. But it's like, if I never took those risks on the clients that maybe didn't have the biggest budgets, or maybe the ones that were super hard, but I know that if I like stayed up late and like really pushed myself, I could solve the problem, I can do it. You know, that's all a part of like getting to where you're going. It's like taking on the challenges and also getting rewarded with getting paid for it. But more importantly, it's like knowing that you did the best job you could with like the resources you had.
No, I think there's a lot. The honesty part, that's what always sticks out to me. And I really want to stress this because there's a lot from that one can pull that is of incredible value. That is clearly learned experience, but it really must be emphasized that if you are just starting out, there are people that are willing to give you the chance, but you need to telegraph honestly and be straight, be direct, be concise, what you can and cannot do, what you are confident. And when the time comes, say, hey, I don't think I am your guy for this. Because if you have the humility to say that I might not be the guy for this particular task, that sticks out. People remember that.
Yeah. Business karma is real.
Yes, it is.
Like what you put out, like it will be dished back to you at some point.
Yes.
And so I think that one thing that I'm very thankful for are the people who gave me budgets and work with me in the very beginning. Like I think I still have them all written down in like spreadsheets, how much they charge, like everything, because to me those were like early investors. I treat them like early investors because those are the times where I'm like, I know that I can do this. I'm like trying to juggle like so many other things, but it's like they still gave me a shot and that still kept me going on the way. But it's like to never do that yourself as a freelancer, as a consultant, like that's how you grow. Like we all start from like client one, you know, like that's just how it all begins. And I think that's something that is very exciting. And two, like if you ever feel like there's something you don't know how to do, know your friends' rates, know what they charge, know what they're capable of doing. Because sometimes if there's something I may not know how to do, I'll just like find a friend. I'll be like, hey, I've got this client. I've known them for a while. They have a budget. Can I hire you to do this? And like sometimes a friend will be like, yeah, I'll give you a finder's fee. Or they'll be like, yeah, we can partner up and do this and I'll show you how to do it. Or maybe it's just you hiring a friend. Like that also too is great, because then that friend will be like, hey, I'll look out for something, or hey, come and work with me on this. And I think that's something like it's good to have a community around you as a freelancer, because we all work by ourselves, but it doesn't need to be lonely. Like you can have a community of other people who do other things or things that you want to learn, or like hire your friend to help you build your business so that it's a mutual thing, or like they're helping you build your business. You get to spend time together. Like that's all like, you know, how you can find the next opportunity or the next personal project or the next like fun thing you do with your friends could turn into the next client because you actually took the time to do it. So I think that's something very important that I'm learning still, is like, do the work you want to get paid for, regardless if it pays you right now. Because one, you never know, and two, that could be the thing that could potentially take off and be like the thing you actually do. But it's like, if you never make the time to either like do it, set the time aside, or rent that studio to go film it, it's like, it's hard to sell something that people can't see.
Never forsake the opportunity to learn.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, that's our time today. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Well, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Alex Hutchi and on YouTube as Homestead Hutch.
All right. Perfect. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed another episode of A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything. We look forward for one more episode with Alex in the near future. So until then, take care and be well, folks. Bye-bye.